It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We're your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, color breaking news, culture, manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Crazy news. Saylor now, MicroStrategy to be specific, but we all know it's Michael Saylor behind that strategy. Owns 190,000 Bitcoin. He's definitely going for that 1%. I know in his head he wants 210,000 Bitcoin. That would make it so that he owns 1% of all Bitcoin, which is absolutely crazy. He's gone nuts. He's obviously using his company he's leveraging his company to stack more Bitcoin every single month. There's another announcement that he's making these huge purchases. And as we'll show today, because everyone was waiting for his investor report, it seemed like it was the winning strategy. MicroStrategy has outperformed everything, including Bitcoin, I might add. Since they adopted the Bitcoin strategy in 2020. That press conference yesterday was a big deal. Also, breaking news, we're not going to cover this today, but it seems like Fidelity has added a 1% Bitcoin allocation to its conservative ETF, right? Which is nuts. How fast this is accelerating. The Bitcoin price did shoot up because of this news. It was sitting at, I think it was like 42,900, shot up to 43,250. This is nuts. The institutions are here. This was one of the big narratives in 2017, 2018. One of the coping narratives was, oh my God, the institutions are coming. The institutions are coming as the price of Bitcoin collapsed in 2018. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the institutions are here. Make no mistake, you have Larry Fink on TV, saying, basically saying all the Bitcoin talking points. You have the legacy finance corporate media saying all the Bitcoin talking points, right? They all want to get a piece of the pie. They cannot resist Bitcoin's incentives. Bitcoin is winning. Michael Saylor has been clearly vindicated. And, this is going to be a crazy, crazy cycle. I'm beyond excited. One of the theories also, too, was the theory of diminishing returns, right? If Bitcoin's, follows this diminishing returns theory, it's barely going to break all-time highs. I think we're going to break that this cycle, in my opinion, with all this institutional interest. There's the fact that there's only 21 million, there's a cap supply. I think everyone's going to want to try to get their hands on this thing, especially now that Fidelity put it on the conservative ETF, like a part of a bunch of assets, and Bitcoin represents 1% of that. I mean, that is an absolute game changer. And I think that's going to show to the world that having Bitcoin on your portfolio, whatever your portfolio is, wherever you come from, is not an option. It's a necessity, because you're going to get left behind by the institutions, by the countries that do have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Now, from the institutional aspect, from the number go up aspect, all of that is very bullish. But remember, guys, we're your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. I just got to remind everyone, guys, if it's not your keys, it's not your cheese, right? If you don't have your Bitcoin in self-custody, it's not really yours. So all this news about the ETF and all this news about Michael Saylor, all this news about Nayib Bukele, it could be really exciting. But if you want to benefit from this, 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, you want to pass it on to the next generations, you definitely want to have that sweet, sweet Bitcoin into self-custody. Also, during the numbers, we're going to literally show you a video of the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, explain basically how he's skeptical of Bitcoin as a currency. I find it kind of weird, and we have this video of Yellen as well. We're going to play it for you guys tomorrow. She's calling for regulation and whatnot. But I find it weird that the dinosaurs, so to speak, and I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion, but it's this is the old system and they're criticizing the new system. But who are they to lecture us? Who are they to lecture us? They can't they can't not spend money they don't have. They can't not stop printing money. So they might wear the suits. They might hide behind the coattails of this, legitimized seal that, has been around for more than 100 years. But the reality is that central banks, are stealing your purchasing power. They're stealing the future from your children, of your grandchildren. That's the reality that people have to come to terms with. Like, every time a central bank prints money, it's a wealth redistribution mechanisms from the lower and middle classes back to the very wealthy that do have the means to save in assets, and back to the government. That is the reality. That is the reality that the world has to wake up to. And I think that's happening. I think the internet has disintermediated information. Yesterday, Tucker Carlson made quite a big splash, making an announcement that he's going to be interviewing the president of Russia, Putin, right? This is someone that, the Western media complex has used, to say it lightly, as a justification to print all this money and send all this money to the Ukraine. Whether you agree with the war or not, that is not money that we can afford to be sending over there. That's the reality. Look at the debt clock. Look at the deficit spending every single year. Like, these things are not free. They're coming out of your dollars. They're coming. If you have dollars in a bank account, that is literally where it's being siphoned from. And Bitcoin is a silent protest. That's why we call it the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. It's saying enough is enough without direct confrontation. You're not saying, listen, no, we got to change the dollar and go through the political way. It's basically saying, like, look, you guys could have that. I'm just going to opt out of the system entirely by earning, buying, mining Bitcoin and taking that said Bitcoin into self-custody. Anyways, no more. I do want to bring up my legendary co-host. Also caught him in a non-smile, of course. And I'm talking about Optimus Fields. There's a smile. What's up, dude?
Dude, nothing much. It's almost like the Bitcoin thesis is correct and it is happening in real time. I think that Fidelity news is probably a way bigger story than Michael Saylor, but we'll cover that tomorrow. Saylor's just taking all the sats, guys. I hope you guys are still stacking because, man, I really wish, Nico, we could do the same playbook with Simply Bitcoin. That would be pretty lit. We'd be stacking a lot of sats, but hey, we can't all be as...
What is the same playbook? What are you talking about?
Sell some shares and stack Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's really clever. I mean, but you could, technically you could do this if you own an asset, right? And if you own a large portion of it, whether it's a house or a bunch of stocks, technically you can take a loan against it. I don't recommend it. That's called leverage, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. But, you could do that. Technically, you could do that. Maybe some high net worth individuals are watching. You do have the opportunity to do that. Anyways, I do want to bring up our for today. We got Selly in the house. Unfortunately, he does not have any chickens on him
chickens today,
which is quite disappointing. But how you doing, Selly?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good,
wonderful,
dude. Welcome
bro.
to the show. What are we going to talk about during the culture, Opti?
Yeah. So Selly hit me up the other day. He is working on a bunch of cool projects. So today we're going to be talking about StackChain Mag, the sister company or brother company, Proof of Ink. And then I think I'm going to touch on, Selly kind of hinted at something that he's working on. I think we're going to touch on, working in Bitcoin. So that's probably the theme of today, working with Bitcoiners, doing cool stuff, and, working in Bitcoin and figuring out how you can get paid to work for Bitcoin.
Absolutely, 100%. Guys, if you are enjoying the show, it really helps with the algos, really help us push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching on Twitter or X, if you're watching us on, or you're listening to us on the audio platforms, leave us a good review, smash that like button, smash it. It takes literally 2 seconds, but really, really helps with the algos. And of course, we really, really appreciate it. Anyways, guys, no more delay. Let's jump straight into the show. Before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to our new flagship sponsor, the Bitcoin Well. Buy real Bitcoin. Bitcoin Well is the self-custody Bitcoin platform on a mission to enable independence. This is the first Bitcoin on-ramp in the United States. They just went live in all 50 US states that offers self-custody by default. That's right. You can't just buy Bitcoin and leave that Bitcoin on the platform. They encourage you, they incentivize you to take self-custody. So guys, I highly recommend go check out Bitcoin Well. All you got to go to is bitcoinwell.com. Put in your email, get started, get on the mission. This is how we win this thing. Bitcoin in self-custody. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We got a lot to talk about. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen right now, take you directly to the Stamp Seed website where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their website. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to explain to your grandchildren why you lost your generational wealth because you didn't properly back up your Bitcoin wallet seed words. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 43,480 sats per dollar, 2,300. Block height 829,398. Blocks to halving 10,602. Halving estimate April 19, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,942 Bitcoin. Capacity value 214 million. Realized monetary inflation 1.75%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin 853 billion US dollars. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 6.19%. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is still a baby. Anyways, I do want to give you guys a quick ETF update. We're going to be doing this on a daily basis to see how much Bitcoin these ETFs have gobbled up. So the iShares Bitcoin Trust yesterday it had 75,000 Bitcoin. It's up to 76,750. That's how much Bitcoin BlackRock is currently holding for their customers. That represents 0.365% of the total Bitcoin supply. The Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin ETF is currently holding 63,662. That's an uptick of 1,000 from the day before. Yesterday it was at 62,000, and that represents 0.3% of the total supply. So these ETFs are obviously gobbling all this up. The halving is around the corner. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around, let's be blunt. And take a look at MicroStrategy with 190,000 Bitcoin. They're getting close to that 1%. They're sitting at 0.9%, and they've already 1.39x their initial investment. Michael Saylor being an absolute Chad. Anyways, what I do want to talk about today is this video coming out of the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, Neil Kashkari, explains why he is skeptical of Bitcoin as a currency. So I'm going to play it for you guys. Maybe you agree with him, maybe you don't. Let's check out the video and then we'll talk about it.
Skeptic about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Can you explain your concern?
Yeah, so I travel around and I do talks like this. I do a lot in universities. And inevitably in a university context, there are a number of students who want to ask me about Bitcoin. And I always ask them, has anybody in this room ever bought something with Bitcoin? Not bought Bitcoin, bought something using Bitcoin as a currency. I mean, a sandwich, a computer, a book, anything? Anybody ever bought anything using Bitcoin as a currency? No. I've never met somebody who's bought something using Bitcoin as a currency. So I always ask, what problem is this trying to solve? Well, first I heard, well, it's an inflation hedge. Well, then when we had this big inflation spike, I said, darn it, we're going to make these Bitcoin guys feel like they were right. But then it turned out inflation, or Bitcoin was a terrible inflation hedge. When we raised interest rates, Bitcoin got crushed. It's just another risky asset. So if you want to spend your money buying Beanie Babies or Pez dispensers or Bitcoin, knock yourself out, okay? But it's now been 10 plus years and nobody has been able to articulate any actual utility in the real world other than an article of speculation. I'm not opposed to Beanie Babies. I'm not opposed to Pez dispensers. I am opposed to Americans taking their hard-earned money and being duped into investing in something and not realizing they're buying a Beanie Baby, thinking they're buying something else. I'll give you one little example. I've used this before. I said my wife was from the Philippines. One time we went to visit her family in the Philippines. We landed at customs at LAX. I was going through customs. I was tired. The customs officer said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I work at the Federal Reserve." And he said, "Oh, do you know about Bitcoin?" And I said, "I know something." And he said, "My good buddy just took out a home equity loan to buy Bitcoin. Should I do that?" And I said, "You know, I'm not supposed to give investment advice, but do not do that unless you want to risk losing your home." So that's why I'm concerned about it.
So, I mean, a lot to unpack there. First of all, first thing he said, which was, have you ever met someone? Yes, I actually bought something. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is, but I actually bought something with Bitcoin this morning.
Drugs.
No, it wasn't drugs. It wasn't anything illegal, Opti. But no, I actually bought something with Bitcoin this morning. I've purchased many things with Bitcoin. Now, to be frank and to be blunt with you guys, it's not as easy as using Apple Pay. Just not. Lightning is not quite there yet. Wallet of Satoshi was a great attempt, even though it's custodial. I hear that a million times, but holy cow, was that thing convenient. You know, obviously they pulled out of the US for the regulatory environment. So, you know, Lightning is getting built. Hopefully it gets to that point. You know, Liquid is great, right? But I've used, you know, on-chain Bitcoin to make purchases before. Is it convenient? I would say in some situations, it's actually a lot more convenient than using dollars. Now, here's the thing, though. When I spend dollars, it doesn't hurt. When I spend Bitcoin, it hurts because I know that, and this actually is a perfect segue to the second point that he was trying to make, which was it's not an inflation hedge. Well, like, it depends on the timeline. So, like, if you're actually, like, looking out, like, he lied. Like that was just a lie, what he just said. Compared to the dollar, like this is just, I'll read you the 1 year term, the 3 year term, and the 5 year term. We reference this website so many times. If you've been saving in Bitcoin, right? This is why we don't advocate for trading. The dollar's actually gotten 92% cheaper. Oil has gotten 86% cheaper, gold 84% cheaper, S&P 500 85% cheaper. That part I want you guys to remember, the S&P 500. You want to know why the spot Bitcoin ETFs got into the top 10 out of 3,100 ETFs in the United States? You want to know the reason? Because of that. People are starting to realize that. And there's no amount of suit and hubris and elitism that is going to cover the mere fact that this thing is just a superior asset. If you hold Bitcoin, it's a better way to save money, especially if you take self-custody. That's just the fact. That's just the truth. House, 78% cheaper. In Miami, housing has increased by over 100% when they started printing all that money due to the pandemic. And I have been saving Bitcoin, things have gotten cheaper. And they will continue to get cheaper over time. Now, that's where the government and government officials and Fed officials and central bank officials, they nitpick, right? They nitpick. They're like, oh, the volatility. Yeah, maybe on a 1 year time scale, but you can't have these crazy gains. You can't go from Bitcoin in the beginning of 2017 to being, you know, $1,000 January 2017 to, you know, a couple years later, 7 years later, where we're sitting pretty at 43,485. The all-time high was 69,000. You can't have those types of movements without volatility. It comes with the territory, but that's why we always advocate for Bitcoin is savings. So I think he's wrong on two points. I think I've used many times I've used Bitcoin to purchase things. I'm sure Opti has used things to purchase things. I'm sure Selly has used Bitcoin to purchase things. Now, does that mean that current Bitcoin, apps and technology is it depends really where you are in the world, right? But is it as convenient as using Apple Pay? Is it as convenient as using Zelle and PayPal and all that stuff? I personally don't think it's as convenient as Apple Pay. I just don't. That haptic feedback, like that shit feels good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It makes you feel good for paying for stuff. So yeah, until Bitcoin gets to that level of convenience, and this is just the way that human beings work, right? I think we have an uphill battle, but this is where, this creates a great opportunity for Bitcoin entrepreneurs. We know a lot of them, to try to solve this problem. Like that's the problem that needs to be solved, because I don't care about the ideological reasons. Like, yeah, I love Bitcoin as savings. I do. And I save in Bitcoin, but until Bitcoin becomes as convenient to use, specifically in countries that have relatively stable fiat currencies, I don't think you're going to see a lot of people opting into that. I think right now it's in the store of value phase, and it's proving itself. And I think over time, what we're going to see is it's going to transition to a means of payment. I don't think we're there yet. I think that there's a lot of work to be done on Lightning. There's a lot of work to be done on, second layer solutions. And that's the reality. But I have used it as a means of payment. I've used it multiple times as a means of payment. So that's BS. And the whole thing where it's not an inflation hedge, maybe not on a short term 1 year time scale, but if you zoom out 3 years, 4 years, it absolutely crushes the dollar. It saves your purchasing power like no other. And you know what? Actions speak louder than words. This isn't just me saying this anymore. You had Larry Fink, the CEO of the largest asset manager in the world, go on the legacy financial media and literally say that Bitcoin is a flight to quality. Right. So it's not me saying this anymore. It's not just a crazy bunch of Bitcoiners on the internet. You have some very, very powerful people saying that. Opti's trolling me saying Nico's a fiat maxi. You know what, dude? Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, this is a call to action. I hope there's a Bitcoin entrepreneur out there that makes paying in Bitcoin feel as good and as convenient as Apple Pay, because until we get there, we're behind. Right. There's great companies that are trying to tackle that. Like the Strike product is great. Fold just made an announcement yesterday about converting your Bitcoin to dollars to make it easier to live on a Bitcoin standard with a debit card. So this is clearly a problem that needs to be solved. Like, I'm not saying it in any other way. So yeah, I mean, look, I think that's cope from that, that president. I think he's on team fiat, and obviously he's gonna, be cheerleading for team fiat. That's my opinion. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, his name is literally Neil Kashkari. Like, of course he's going to be against Bitcoin. And let's not forget, and let's not forget that this guy was on 60 Minutes. I forget when it was, like a year ago, 2 years ago.
That's a coincidence, by the way, that his name is Neil Kashkari.
Yeah, whatever.
You made a joke about it. That's funny.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, I like words, and they're signaling them. Anyway, remember, this guy was on 60 Minutes. I think it was like 2 years ago now. I forget when it was. It was around 2020-ish. And remember what he said, guys. You guys can go find the clip. He was literally sitting there saying, oh yeah, we can print an infinite amount of dollars to solve any problem out there. And this guy is head of the Minneapolis Fed. Like, this guy is a fiat maxi confirmed. Like, I really don't know why we even listen to people like this. I mean, like I've been saying for a while, if people haven't directly experienced Bitcoin, if they haven't used Bitcoin, then like, why are we even listening to anything they're saying? Like, if they haven't experienced the benefits of Bitcoin, then in my opinion, like if they haven't even sent a transaction, in my opinion, their opinion is worthless. Anyways, like the fact that this guy, Neil Kashkari, the guy who said he can print infinite amount of dollars to basically secure the financial system, is telling us that, oh, Bitcoin is worthless. Like, This is the very reason why we Bitcoin in the first place. A hard cap supply, digital scarcity. This is why we Bitcoin, is because they can print infinite amounts of dollars. So again, like, why are we listening to this guy? And then on the point of like, oh, no one's using Bitcoin as a means of exchange. Like, man, first, it's got to be a store of value. It's shown that it's a store of value. And you see in real time that it is starting to proliferate as a means of exchange. Like, of course, I've bought things with Bitcoin. I buy things with Bitcoin all the time. I find using Bitcoin way easier than using the fiat payment rails. Like, even the very fact of just like scanning a QR code and sending Bitcoin to me is much simpler than having to type in all my, you know, information, my card or whatever. Even Apple Pay. I love Apple Pay, and hence why I use them with my boys over at the Bitcoin company. But Bitcoin, in my opinion, is a way superior payment rail than traditional financial payment rails. And nothing they say coming out of the Fed is going to stop me from using Bitcoin. Nothing Neil Kashkari says is going to stop me from saving in Bitcoin. Obviously, this guy is a fiat maxi, and he's thinking about his position and his job at the Fed. He realizes that the private market, the private sector is going to outperform him, and they are. And yes, you know, even though I'm trolling Nico about the fact that he's starting to sound very I don't know.
I'm jaded, bro. I'm jaded.
Shitcoin fiat apologist over here. Last day was Friday. Now he's saying this on Wednesday. Nico, you're going down a dark path.
The moment that the moment that Wallet of Satoshi, you know, discontinued, and I still have it downloaded on my phone, but the fact that you can't just download and start using it, you know, I'm not gonna lie, that was very discouraging. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's extremely discouraging that happened. So yeah, man. I mean, look, it is what it is. That's my take. Selly, what's your take on this, bro? Were you a fan of Wallet of Satoshi?
Sally, are you there?
Oh, sorry, my connection was going in and out already. I actually was a fan of Wallet of Satoshi. It was one of the easiest ones I've used. It still works for me as long as I use a VPN, so it hasn't been that big of a deal yet, but I am shopping around for a new wallet to start using.
100%. What's your take on the video, Sally?
That's how it always is. There's always going to be somebody that calls it rat poison or this or that. So, you know, he'll be eating his words here soon after the cycle.
100%. Yep. Neil, how do you say his name?
Neil Kashkari.
Neil Kashkari is going to have fun staying poor for sure. 100%. Anyways, guys, we have a lot to talk about. Let's get to the news. We got a lot to dig into. We got a pretty long video for you guys from Saylor. It's absolutely incredibly bullish. So let's check it out. Here we go. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to get into Bitcoin mining and don't know where to start? That's why I want to introduce you to Scott's Build a Mine Bootcamp. He will show you how to build your own Bitcoin mine, how to get the project funded, how to get your facility filled with miners as quickly as possible. With a little luck, and by putting all his techniques and strategies to work that he's developed mining Bitcoin for the last 6 years, you could be mining 5 million Satoshis per day or 0.05 Bitcoin in less than 3 months. On the free webinar, he will give you a high-level roadmap that will help you get on your way to building, owning, and operating your own Bitcoin mining farm. Begin your mining journey today. Register for the free webinar now. Click the link in the description of the video below or contact Scott directly on Telegram using his handle @OfferedScott and learn how to mine those precious Satoshis.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, guys, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. If you want to learn how to build your own Bitcoin mine, you could scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you to Scott's Build a Mine Bootcamp. Learn how to build your own Bitcoin mine. Scan the QR code on your screen. You also need to get yourself a hardware wallet. We recommend our sponsor, Passport by Foundation Devices. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. You definitely want to take self-custody, and one of the best ways to do that is by getting yourself a hardware wallet. Get yourself a Passport by Foundation. Anyways, we were all waiting for MicroStrategy's financial results, so it finally came out. And when it came out, once again, it was revealed that the Chad Saylor, of course, he bought himself more Bitcoin. So it's kind of a big deal. There is also kind of like this video conference type of thing. I'll show you guys that in a second. It's a pretty long video, I might add, but Michael Saylor was just flexing the entire time. So the announcement for our audio listeners is MicroStrategy announces fourth quarter 2023 financial results, now holds 190,000 Bitcoin. Here are some of the bullet points. 31,755 Bitcoins acquired since the end of Q3 for 1.25 billion, or 39,411 per Bitcoin. 190,000 Bitcoin holdings at a total cost of 5.93 billion, or 31,224,000 per coin as of February 5th, 2024. Total revenues, 124.5 million, down 6% year over year. Subscription service revenues, 21.5 million, up 23% year over year. Anyways, here is the official Chad Saylor tweet with the giant laser eyes coming out of his face. In January, MicroStrategy acquired an additional 850 Bitcoin for $37.2 million US dollars. Now holds 190,000 Bitcoin. Then he goes on to say, please join us at 5 p.m. as we discuss our Q4 2023 financial results. So we'll get into the details of that. But before we do that, before I play you guys the video, I do want to show you this take, and this is of course reacting. Adam Back was watching the presentation, and this is one of the comments. This is one of the slides from that what Michael Saylor was referencing, and I think there's a lot of signal here, right? So if MicroStrategy conservatively borrowed 1 billion pre-halving and bought 20,000 Bitcoin.
Hey, I'm on a podcast.
And bought 20,000 Bitcoin, they get 210K Bitcoin, 1% of all Bitcoin. And wait for the bull market would be a nice move. MicroStrategy earnings call yesterday talking about their advantage in obtaining, managing leverage, illustrating upside, right? And here they just pointed out, right? Spot Bitcoin, it goes on 43,000, 69,000, 100,000. 250,000. MicroStrategy current leverage 85,000, 180,000, 660%. Hypothetical scenarios in which Bitcoin price increases, illustrative. So I mean, it's just kind of showing all the different scenarios. Now, I think the signal really comes in Michael Saylor kind of breaking down a lot of the presentation. And obviously, if you guys take a look at the soft flex, I mean, is this a soft flex? This is something that we've been showing for, at least many months now. But it's just comparing MicroStrategy's performance compared to everything else. So enterprise software, and of course, this is stock performance since August 10, 2020. And you guys have to understand, right? So Michael Saylor is the CEO, or he is not the CEO, but he's the chairman of MicroStrategy. He's responsible for it. His neck is on the line, because this is a public company. He has, he has shareholders to please. Like, that's just how it works, right? And what he's demonstrating It's not like Bitcoiners where, you know, your mom or, you know, your father, your grandfather, like, yo, you're crazy. And then you're like, okay, watch me, Mr. Federal Reserve President, watch me prove you wrong as number go up. Michael Saylor is doing this on a public company level. And the consequence of that, like the significance of that, is that other public companies are not going to be able to ignore that for a significant amount of time, especially with these types of results. So, you know, the SAP only went up 11%. CRM went up 45%. IBM went up 53%. Oracle, which did incredible, went up 111%. Amazon, only 9%. Netflix, 17%. Apple, 65%. Meta, 81%. Google, 92%. Microsoft, 97%. Bonds, you'd be down 19%. Silver, you'd be down 18%. Gold, only up 1%. The NASDAQ, 42%. S&P 500, 48%. Bitcoin, 260%. MicroStrategy, 305%. So he's clearly showing to all the public companies that this way is the way to go. And by the way, this is why the news of today was so significant. We're going to talk about it on Thursday's episode, where Fidelity made the announcement that they are going to be allocating 1% in their all-in-one conservative ETF to Bitcoin. That's a big effing deal. And why is that happening? Well, this is why it's happening. For our audio listeners, I just read out all the numbers. The numbers don't lie. The incentives don't lie. You could throw out all the ideological stances, all the talking points, all the propaganda, all the attempted coercion, all the attempted bans, either by the CCP, all these hostile anti-Bitcoin bureaucrats and politicians. Throw all that out the window. This speaks volumes. Clearly, using Bitcoin as savings works. Right? On the public company level, we love to show you this website priced in Bitcoin 21. It clearly shows that if you save in Bitcoin, life gets cheaper over time. It's crazy what happens. There's only 21 million. It's the scarcest asset the world has ever seen. And Wall Street, this cycle, is starting to wake up to that reality. Okay, no more talking from me. I'm going to play you guys this video. It's at 1.5 times the speed. I listened to it and I tried to cut it, but I thought the whole thing was so full of signal. So it's about a 10, it's going to be like a 10-9 minute video, but it's Michael Saylor dropping bombs the entire time, and then, you know, Opti, I and Selly will kind of break it down. We'll discuss it. So let's check out what Michael Saylor has to say.
August 10th or August 11th, when we adopted our Bitcoin strategy, our stock has outperformed Bitcoin as well as every major asset class, along with every major big tech stock, as well as every major enterprise software stock. We're very proud of this. And you know, for those of you who have followed us on this journey, you know, it's been a number of steps every single quarter that got us here. But I think that this is a very useful chart to illustrate and discuss some key elements in our strategy and in our business outlook. First of all, with regard to Bitcoin, 2024 is the year of birth of Bitcoin as an institutional grade asset class. Bitcoin is being increasingly referred to as an asset class and as a new asset class. And in fact, it's the first new asset class of the modern era. It's difficult to really name another asset class. Gold, when it was converted to ETFs, wasn't a new asset. Commodities were never a new asset. 30 years ago, the S&P index was converted into an ETF, the SPDR. That wasn't a new asset then, but it was certainly a revolution in finance. And so Bitcoin represents many things, but one thing it represents is the first institutional grade digital asset. And so we've now completed the first 15 years of the Bitcoin life cycle. And in that first 15 years, it was largely unregulated retail asset, misunderstood. The next 15 years, I would expect, will be a regulated, institutional, high growth period of Bitcoin. Very, very different in many ways from the last 15 years. Bitcoin itself is performing well for a number of reasons, but one reason is because it represents the digital transformation of capital. If we look at some of these other great performers on the chart, like Microsoft and Google and Meta and Apple, they're all digital transformation plays. They represent the digital transformation of devices and the digital transformation of relationships and the digital transformation of information and books and libraries and entertainment and education and the digital transformation of corporate processes at, say, Microsoft. Well, Bitcoin's a very profound idea. It's what if we actually transformed capital from its analog form, capital in the form of land or buildings, or capital in the form of shares in an actual physical company, or bushels of corn, or diamonds, or bars of gold, or capital in the form of fiat currency or bonds. And what if we could actually make that into a digital asset that's created in order to address all of the historic perceived shortcomings of analog assets? What if we had all the benefits of gold, but none of the liabilities of gold? What if we had the benefits of a share of stock, but none of the liabilities of a share of stock? What if we had the benefits of a building, but not the liabilities of the building? A synthetic digital asset. And so increasingly investors are recognizing this. That's why Bitcoin is up 260% since we embarked on our Bitcoin strategy. That's why it's outperforming the S&P and the NASDAQ. That's why it's outperforming gold, silver, and bonds. Bitcoin isn't a company. And it's profoundly important to understand that it's not a company, it's an asset class. And as such, based on a commodity, it has spawned an entire universe of companies, products, and services built on that asset class. So part of the driver of Bitcoin's performance is not just its protocol and superior fundamental characteristics, but another driver is the industry of Bitcoin miners that secure the network, and Bitcoin custodians, and a set of Bitcoin exchanges. So we see lots of public companies that are Bitcoin miners now. We see many companies that are entering into Bitcoin custody, like Anchorage, like BitCo, like Fidelity, like Coinbase. We see Bitcoin exchanges like Block acting as an exchange, like Fidelity, like Coinbase, like Gemini, et cetera. We're going to see more exchanges. We see an explosion in Bitcoin wallets, different software applications for mobile phones or devices in order to move Bitcoin around. We've got Bitcoin devices themselves for signing and securing the network. There's a whole host of companies in the Lightning ecosystem and other Bitcoin L2s that are scaling the network. And now, of course, this year we have Bitcoin ETPs, spot ETPs, and even derivatives of those ETPs. Companies that are going to trade the volatility of the underlying spot ETPs are starting to pop up in application form. And of course, these ETPs aren't just local or aren't just United States based, but they're global. And that's significant because every single company everywhere in the world is meeting a different set of compliance requirements. You know, a Bitcoin ETP in Hong Kong will serve a different need, meet different compliance requirements, and meet the needs of different types of investors from a Bitcoin ETP in Canada or in France or in the UK or in the United States. And so all of these various actors are scaling the Bitcoin network with increasing enthusiasm. MicroStrategy, as we've noted, is unique as of now as the first Bitcoin development company, but hopefully not for long. We published our playbook and we're showing other companies how to do it. And there's a lot of real estate development companies in the world. Companies that issue securities and develop real estate. There are a lot of oil or petroleum exploration and development companies in the world. There are natural gas development companies in the world. There are software development companies in the world. So we believe that as awareness builds of Bitcoin as a commodity, as a global commodity, as a unique asset class, I think we're going to see more entrepreneurs enter the space and start to work in these various areas to add value to the ecosystem. It's worthwhile to note, people are, in the early days, they thought of Bitcoin as currency and a medium exchange, and it creates a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of inappropriate or irrelevant criticisms. With the advent of these new ETPs from BlackRock and from Fidelity, awareness of Bitcoin. Can you please go back? Let's stay on the slide. Awareness of Bitcoin as a store of value asset is growing, and people are starting to see Bitcoin not as digital currency, but as digital property or digital gold. A digital store of value. You could think of it as gold, or you could think of it as property, or think of it as another kind of digital store of value. But in that regard, you kind of have to compare it against other liquid stores of value that people are using. So for right now, the most common alternative to Bitcoin for a tech enthusiast would be to invest in big tech, like the Magnificent Seven, the Microsoft, the Google, the Metas. But as you can see, when the market cap of a big tech company doubles, you have a company doing a lot of work, generating a lot of cash flow to support the market cap. And the work that they have to do doubles. And if they want to double their market cap, their value, again, they have to keep doing more work, generating more cash, because traditional finance technique is I dividend out my cash flows or I buy the stock back. Two very famous examples of this traditional approach are Apple and Meta, who are both engaging in monstrous capital return programs. So a stock is returning its capital, and its value or store of value promise is based upon being able to grow its cash flows faster than the rate of inflation. So they're working increasingly hard. If you want to make it 10 times more valuable, eventually you got to come up with a way to get 10 times more cash flows. And that's very different than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the asset. So whereas big tech is asset poor, cash flow rich, Bitcoin is asset rich, and the strategy with Bitcoin becomes asset rich. Now, we're moving into a macroeconomic environment where we're going to see increasing monetary inflation to pay off the debt. That's well understood. That was even acknowledged by Jerome Powell in a 60 Minutes interview this weekend. where he expressed concern. And so as the monetary supply expands, if your strategy is to generate more cash flows, you're going to have to grow your cash flows faster than the rate of monetary inflation. And that means that a big tech strategy becomes increasingly difficult. And so you could almost say, a big tech company becomes more difficult, gets harder, right, as the value increases. But Bitcoin gets more compelling as the value of Bitcoin increases, because the liquidity increases and the network of holders increases. So we're in the first year of Bitcoin being viewed seriously as a possible institutional grade store of value. And I believe that over time, it's going to appeal to technology investors as they understand it as digital capital and the digital transformation of capital. And there's a reason that we believe we can outperform other strategies, and why we believe a commodity like Bitcoin is a better long-term store of value than just buying a portfolio of stocks.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So Michael Saylor dropping all this hot fire, all this sauce, but look at the symbolism. Symbolism is very important. Symbolism is it literally it's he's saying all these things, but at the same time, and he mentioned, because someone tried to click off the slide. No, go back to that slide, right? So this isn't just a theory. Back in 2020, this was a theory. I saw this man at Pacific Bitcoin 2022 front stage. Bitcoin was sitting at 16,000. His average price to acquire Bitcoin was at 29 or 30,000. The man was down 50%, billions of dollars, straight face. He's paying his price of tuition like all of us Bitcoiners most likely have to, because you most likely got in during a bull market. And this is the vindication. This is showing you, hey, this is my theories. This is why I believe this is going to happen. Been sticking to my guns and telling you exactly what I think is going to happen, what I think is the best move, why I believe Bitcoin is the superior play, especially with, the traditional system completely out of hand. He mentioned the 60 Minutes interview, which we played for you guys yesterday with Jerome Powell, basically saying it's an unsustainable path for the U.S. to continue to print all this money and accumulate all this debt. He is literally flexing. This is symbolic. Him on the right and the results, the proof of work on the left. And you want to know why the legacy media, not all the financial media, is clearly on our side now, but you want to know why you still have some of the holdouts, why Elizabeth Warren, is going nuts. She's short circuiting a little bit. It's because of that. You can't stop that. No central banker or politician could spin that in a negative way. It is undeniable that Bitcoin is the superior asset. Bitcoin is the black hole that's going to suck up everything. And that, what Michael Saylor did during that earnings call was just flex. And here's the thing. We ain't even in the bull market yet, ladies and gentlemen. The party hasn't even started. If we're in a race, like if we want to use the race analogy, the cars right now, they're revving their engines. They're going, woof, woof, but they haven't launched yet, right? And these are the results so far. Mark my words. It is going to be irresistible for public companies and for nation states not to adopt Bitcoin. Because if they don't, they'll look irresponsible compared to the parties that have adopted Bitcoin. And that is what Michael Saylor is trying to do. He's leading this effort. He's the vanguard for this movement on the public company level. And he said there was 3 things that needed to happen in order for Bitcoin to hit $5 million per coin. Those 3 things were, number 1, banks needed to have the ability to custody Bitcoin for their clients. Multiple banks all around the world, including in the United States and in Europe, have applied for those licenses. Number 2, he said that there needs to be a change in the FASB accounting rules. Those rules were changed. That's done and dusted. Making it easier accounting wise for Bitcoin, for companies, public companies specifically, to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet so that they can properly account for the losses and the gains. The FASB accounting rules prior weren't really necessarily favorable. It made it kind of complicated. It de-incentivized it a bit. And the third thing he said needed to happen was the spot Bitcoin ETF. And do you guys remember how much they resisted that? Do you remember the cluster F that was that release? Maybe you guys forgot. Gary Gensler, the SEC account telling us how, you need 2FA on your account, and you can only trust words coming out of the SEC. The SEC gets hacked because they don't have 2FA on, basically announcing that the spot Bitcoin ETF was approved. They said, no, it was a hack. It wasn't real. Then the next day they say, yeah, it actually was approved. But then, he's like grinning he can't contain himself. He's so angry about it. Basically saying no, this is unacceptable, et cetera, et cetera. The DOJ press conference when the whole Binance debacle happened. You guys remember that? That was an absolute disaster too. They tried to associate, terrorism with Bitcoin, right? The Wall Street Journal article, the FinCEN proposal, right? All of that is an attempt to slow down the inevitable, but you cannot cover up the facts. You cannot cover up the proof of work. You cannot cover up the numbers. And Michael Saylor just showed them. He just showed them to the world. And Bukele on a nation state level, and again, this might be a coincidence, and I'm acknowledging that. But do you guys believe it's a coincidence? I'll make it an open-ended question. You guys can answer maybe in the chat or in the comment if you guys missed the live stream, or on Twitter or on Rumble. Do you guys believe that it's a coincidence that the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender also has the most popular president, democratically, I might add, because they always like to use that word, democratically elected president in the Americas that just won his election by 87%? Do you think that's a coincidence? I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that if you fix the base layer of society and you align the incentives, all of a sudden politicians are incentivized to actually do good by their constituents rather than trying to get as close as humanly possible to the money spigot. So yeah, fix the money, fix the world. Huge, huge win from Michael Saylor. Look at the symbolism. Of course, Saylor's dropping the hot fire, the sauce. That's why we played you guys the video. But look at the symbolism of what he was doing. It was him saying what he usually says on all the podcasts, right? But to his left were the numbers, were the proof of work. Yes, I won here, and I'm right, and I know I'm right. And companies are not going to be able to resist that incentive, especially the public ones. There's going to be shareholder pressure, and eventually you're going to start to see these big public companies start putting small allocations, on their balance sheet. And what we're going to cover tomorrow is Fidelity. Very, very big news. On a conservative ETF, 1% is now allocated to Bitcoin. Adam Back posted the meme from Lord of the Rings, when the Uruk-hai were trying to siege the fort, and the king of Rohan at the time, he was like, here they come, yes, the herd is coming. But for anyone that got in before the ETF, ladies and gentlemen, you ran Wall Street. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, bro? Michael Saylor has me feeling extremely, extremely bullish, bro. Him dropping hot fire, flexing, just flexing like that. Yeah, I told you so. And I thought that was pretty badass. Of course, he did it in a very tactful way, in a very corporate way, talking the talk, walking the walk, right? But dude, it was still a flex, man. It was still a flex. So
yeah, I mean, I think I think we've been covering this for a long time, and Saylor's just been putting on, the Giga Chad Saylor has just been putting on a masterclass for the whole world to watch, and just going balls deep in Bitcoin, absolute legend. And the way Saylor talks all the time, you can tell that not only is he like polished, but he's talking to a specific class of people. And the way he is able to communicate the Bitcoin signal, the Bitcoin message, like anyone out there that knows anything about anything has to hear Saylor and be like, man, I definitely need to get some Bitcoin, because his, like the proof is in the pudding. The results, I think, have spoken for themselves, and we haven't even gone into a bull market yet. Like the bull market profits that Saylor is going to get is going to blow people's minds out. And I'm sure there's going to be even more people that are like complaining and yelling and, oh, this isn't fair. But man, he definitely risked it for the biscuit. He put his own reputation on the line. And now we're starting to see that
it wasn't more. It was more than reputation, bro. It was reputation.
His whole company.
His company. He was like full. I mean, we all have done this. Like, I went all in. So did I know Opti. I'm 99%. You went all in too. Yeah. The only difference is that Opti and I don't have Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, like imagine us buying 890 Bitcoin every quarter, just buying just a cool 1,000 Bitcoin every quarter.
850. It's all good.
Yeah, only 32 million. Like, would love to see that. But there's one thing that Saylor said there that I think is very interesting, and it's something we've been covering a lot, and that Nico and I personally feel is the idea of entrepreneurs being attracted to Bitcoin. Like, if you're an entrepreneur right now, yes, there is some hurdles and some obstacles you have to overcome to be on the Bitcoin standard. But we are starting to see, and we've been seeing for the last 2 to 3 years, the brain drain that is being attracted towards Bitcoin and away from the fiat world. And Saylor's hitting on it. And he even mentioned some personal anecdotes that he's seeing people, whether in real estate, whether on the corporate level, that they're all starting to get interested in Bitcoin. And like we're going to cover tomorrow, the Fidelity, the conservative 1% allocation to Bitcoin in that general ETF. You're seeing that not only is this happening on the corporate level, the nation state level, and yeah, we're talking about institution adoption of Bitcoin, but what this is really doing is exposing all of retail to the understanding that, oh, wait, I might need to hold a little bit of Bitcoin because this is the only way to make it through what is going on. And that's the stuff that gets me super excited, is because, like, man, everyone that has a brain left, anyone that still has critical thinking, has to be looking at Bitcoin and will be looking at Bitcoin as this bull run enters, that, oh, wow, I really do need to get some exposure to Bitcoin in any capacity. And it's not just this, internet nerd money. It's like the biggest and most high-powered institutional managers, asset managers in the world, and billionaires, and some of the most successful businessmen in the world are starting to get Bitcoin allocation. I might want to get some. As much as I try to avoid the authority fallacy, people still look to successful people to, make decisions. And I think Saylor is going to just show the world that, yeah, you need some Bitcoin. So it's absolutely crazy that this is where we are. Anyway, Sally, what's your thoughts over there? Are you still with us?
I hope so.
Yeah, it seems like Sally. Sally, it seems like you're having some connection issues, my friend. Try using Google Chrome, exiting and coming back in, my friend. Yeah, anyways, dude, so absolutely crazy. Michael Saylor dropping the hot fire, man, and really flexing on Wall Street, and absolutely embarrassing. So hopefully Selly comes back for the culture, but Opti, I think it'd be a good idea to talk about self-custody. What do you think?
Yeah, if Selly doesn't pop in, of course, we could always do that.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, no more delay. Let's jump into the culture. But before we do that, I do want to give a very, very special shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint. You can get yourself a copy right now on Amazon. We have 10 million people to orange pill. Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint is an absolute beast of a resource for orange pilling no coiners and altcoiners alike. This is a book for Bitcoiners who know Bitcoin but have a hard time explaining it to their friends. It's a book for Bitcoiners who are trying to explain Bitcoin only to altcoiners. It's available on Amazon right now. You can scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to Amazon where you can get yourself a copy. Bitcoin Evangelism, Planting Seeds for the Decentralized Solution. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. We have a lot to talk about. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to Kaboom Racks. They're the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You got to check out their racks, and the way you do that is by scanning the QR code on your screen, or you can check the link in the video description. Check out their inventory on Telegram. Connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them. Access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with Kaboom Rack. So what are you waiting for? This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. Check out Kaboom Racks today. All right, everybody, let's talk some of these. Is Selly here? Is Selly
He was
here?
just here. Yeah, let's see. Let's try this. Let's try
He's
this.
back. All right, Selly
Selly,
is back.
are you
How you
here?
doing, Selly? Can you hear us, Selly? Going once,
Selly?
going twice, yep. No, seems like his connection isn't working out.
Correct. All right. Well, let's talk self-custody. Look, I did a poll in the chat. I was thinking, like, why do you guys Bitcoin? Why do we Bitcoin in the first place? And the chat overwhelmingly says freedom. And part of that freedom is you have to self-custody your Bitcoin. As we all say in Bitcoin, if you don't own the keys, then it is not your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And so I do this all the time. And I continue to try to get you guys up to date and make sure that you guys are taking your Bitcoin into self-custody. In my opinion, it's super simple. What really is the hard part is the mental obstacles that you have to do in the beginning. I think, like, once you understand why you hodl Bitcoin and how to take self-custody, it becomes second nature. But the first step, acquiring or sourcing Bitcoin can be its own hurdle in general. And then the next step is taking that Bitcoin either off an exchange, or maybe you are one of the lucky few that can do peer-to-peer transactions the first time you ever touch and interact with Bitcoin. And so usually that means that you have to download a wallet. And I think personally, maybe this is not the best advice for long-term storage, but usually the best way to do this is by just downloading a mobile wallet. And I have a bunch of wallets. I've been trying new wallets on my phone. I'm an Apple Maxi, so whatever. And let me just get some. So I love Blue Wallet. Blue Wallet to me has been my daily driver for on-chain for a long time. There's also Green Wallet. Green Wallet's a great wallet. And then I've been trying some new wallets recently, just because I try to keep up to date with wallets, and I'm trying to find something that I can start to use that is as easy to use as Wallet of Satoshi. We haven't fully got there yet, but if you are trying to use Bitcoin on Lightning, there's Breeze Wallet, there's Phoenix Wallet, there's Zeus if you have your own Lightning node. And then the newest, latest runners is, of course, Aqua, that's using Liquid and Lightning as payment rails. And I just downloaded BitKit wallet this morning. I was trying it out. It seems super cool. I haven't uploaded it yet. I even was trying the Nostr application Primal, which I guess has a Lightning wallet attached to it. So I haven't fully worked on that one, but that seems pretty cool. I haven't totally used it, but it seems like an awesome new iteration on Lightning wallets. And then, of course, we have our sponsor. If you really want to update, get yourself a hardware wallet. I love the Foundation, Passport by Foundation. And then, of course, the other ones here, the Jade for the price point, absolutely great. I got the translucent one. You can see it's getting green screen. Of course, Cold Card Wallet, you guys know that. And if you want to buy, or rather build yourself one off the shelf parts, there's the Seed Signer. And there's desktop, guys. You know, the desktop, if you don't want to go buy a hardware wallet, you can also download like Electrum, Bitcoin Core, Sparrow, Spectre on your laptop or your desktop. These are all great choices in my opinion. I'm sure there's some other ones that you guys might recommend, but these are the ones that I use. And it's very simple, guys. What you want to do, and this is probably the best practice. What you really want to do is say you bought some Bitcoin on an exchange using Bitcoin Well or whatever your favorite exchange of choice is. Don't send all your Bitcoin at once. What you need to do is send a test transaction. Maybe go check out mempool.space so you don't, actually it doesn't really matter coming out of exchanges. They'll usually pay the fees. But send a test transaction. Don't send a too small of one. Send, I don't know, $5, $10. And then you'll probably have to consolidate those UTXOs. But send a test transaction to a wallet that you control. Make sure you have written down your seed. You can use paper for now, but eventually you want to, eventually you want to get it to titanium or something that is indestructible.
Stamp seed,
exactly.
And then promo code Simply.
Yeah, and then erase the wallet. Literally nuke the wallet, and you're like, oh my God, I just sent money to it. Why would I nuke the wallet? Well, the point is, if you have those seed words backed up, then you can get back into that wallet. And once you get back into the wallet and you see that your $5, $10 is there, then send your whole stack to your wallet. And then another thing to really be considerate about is we are starting to see, especially with all the, ordinal guys and the on-chain NFTs and all that crazy spam, as far as I'm concerned, the fees might get crazy, and we're going to move into a bull run. And as more people jump on Bitcoin, the fees might get crazy. So make sure you're consolidating your UTXOs, and this is as simple as just sending a transaction with all your Bitcoin to a new address, and that will consolidate your UTXOs and your Bitcoin. I just read an article by my boy Joe Rogers at Bitcoin Magazine. You guys could go check it out. I think the recommendation is make sure that if you are consolidating your UTXOs for long term, you want to at least have like a 10 million sat 0.10 BTC UTXO minimum. Obviously, there is some privacy concerns. Maybe you don't want to put your whole stack into one UTXO, because when you send your Bitcoin, you might be exposing your holdings to people that you maybe don't want to do. So you can consolidate these and think about this differently. You can have like your long-term HODL storage, which is like a big UTXO, and then you can kind of have your checking account, and the big UTXO could basically be considered your savings account, and then some small UTXOs that you can maybe send to like a Lightning wallet. I love Phoenix. One of my buddies kind of got mad at me because there's, you have to send like a big transaction to Phoenix before it really works seamlessly. Of course, there's also Mutiny. I love my boys over at Mutiny. There's also CoinOS. I haven't fully used it, but it does seem to be working very good on a web browser. But the process is very simple, guys. Acquire Bitcoin any way possible. Usually, first steps for most people is an exchange. Go to bitcoinwell.com. I don't know if there's a /simplybitcoin URL yet, but stack Bitcoin and then get yourself a mobile wallet. Send your Bitcoin to that mobile wallet. Again, the reason we tell you this is because not your keys, not your Bitcoin. We believe the revolution is self-custody. We understand that most of you guys out there are just retail. You guys are just average, everyday people like us, and you guys aren't institutions, and you probably don't even have a 401k like myself. And so you just want to hold an asset that cannot be debased. And so you're stacking and you're saving in Bitcoin. So you want to make sure that you are holding keys for yourself. Make sure you don't take a picture on your phone. Make sure that seed doesn't go to a cloud, because you're exposing your basically keys to the kingdom. And this is the most important thing to be doing, guys, is taking Bitcoin into self-custody. As more of us join the Bitcoin parallel economy, as more and more merchants start to adopt Bitcoin, as more average everyday citizens start to use Bitcoin, this peer-to-peer economy will start to proliferate. And like Neil Kashkari was saying in the beginning, you'll start to experience and run into more people using Bitcoin. But the process is super simple, guys. Get Bitcoin on an exchange, or I don't care, use RoboSat or, HODL or BISC. There's a lot of ways to get Bitcoin. I think that is the that part, there's a lot of debate and there's a lot of contention in Bitcoin. To me, just get Bitcoin. Once you're in Bitcoin, I don't think it really matters at the end of the day when we win this monetary war. But download a wallet. I like Blue Wallet. Blue Wallet's been a solid, sturdy wallet for me for years now. It's one of my daily drivers. I'm starting to play with some more Lightning wallets. Of course, if you're not in the United States, just download Wallet of Satoshi. Again, there's contention because it's custodial, but it works. And that's what most people want. They want the convenience of it working.
Amen. Yeah,
and then just do the testing that I was telling you, and then make sure that your seed's backed up. And once you know that you're in control of that wallet, then dump your savings into Bitcoin. Continue to stack.
Go check out BTC Sessions if you guys still need help with onboarding. Passport by Foundation, they offer a concierge one-on-one onboarding if you guys need help setting up your hardware wallet, or check out BTC Sessions. He offers one-on-ones as well. And it'll help you, it's kind of like a hold your hand. And of course, our sponsor, the Bitcoin Way, and they offer a concierge service as well. But from everything, by the way, so a node setup, wallet setup, anything that you can think of, the Bitcoin Way guys have your back. So definitely check them out.
Wait, Nico, can we read this comment? Optimus Field, central bank paleontology expert says, simply Bitcoin, what is it? Simply bearish? Only bears consolidate UTXOs. Why should I consolidate if Bitcoin is infinity dollars per sat? Yeah, bro, you're trolling. Consolidate your UTXOs. Good UTXO hygiene is important, guys. And then, you could also eventually move towards like a multi-sig setup, maybe consider coin joins, all that stuff follows. But for you guys, just getting your toes wet in self-custody, just download a wallet on your phone.
100%.
Own the keys. It's very simple, guys.
100%. Yeah. So, and like I said, guys, check out the Bitcoin Way. If you guys need help with this, it is literally your Bitcoin IT team. They'll help you with wallet, individuals, businesses, inheritance planning, concierge service. So they have your back. So there's so many different avenues, so many different ways for you to get onboarded, to properly secure your Bitcoin future, the wealth for for the future generations. So you have absolutely no excuse. And Opti walked you through every single wallet on the face of the earth. You're a Blue Wallet. You're a Blue Wallet junkie. I mean, Blue Wallet is good for the phone.
Oh, wait, I forgot Electrum.
And for the phone, Blue Wallet is good. Blue
Wallet's great for the phone. I love Blue Wallet.
For the phone, Blue Wallet's good. But for desktop, Sparrow Electrum.
And
Sparrow Electrum are dope.
Let's kind of flush this out a little bit. Guys, like putting some sats on your phone in a hot wallet for like a short term, maybe some spending sats, like that, in my opinion, is good. But if you are storing your Bitcoin long term, then you consider like a Sparrow or Electrum, or just going OG with Bitcoin Core or hardware wallets. Like, this is what they're for, is to secure your Bitcoin long term. And then, I mean, some people would even say, like, if you're not going to spend sats, just send it to cold storage and Bitcoin Core, and you'll be good.
100%. Anyways, before we wrap it up, I do want to give the results of the poll. Opti asked in the beginning, why do you Bitcoin? 55% of you said freedom. 23% of you said FU money. 10% of you said permissionless. And 9% of you said number go up. 261 people participated in the poll.
Mello says in the chat, the true answer to the survey is yes.
Yes. Why do you buy Bitcoin? Exactly. Just yes. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. My name is Nico. I'm your host. This is my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields. We're number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. If you guys have enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.